Hey, good morning.
Morning.
Let's go ahead and get started. We've got some ground to cover, of course, as we enter into Daniel chapter 9 this morning. Let's go ahead and pray, and then we will begin. Lord, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for this information that you have granted to us and have given us so that we can ponder it, we can think about it, ask questions concerning it, and receive clarity concerning the things to come, the future, and how you make everything well and right. Pray, God, that this would be instructive for us, that it would be productive for us, that we would be more confident and assured of your word and how you've laid out the future for Israel as well as the world itself and the Gentiles. We thank you so much for it's in your son's name. Amen. Okay, let's get started here. So we finished chapter 8, and we'll do some review and things like that, and hopefully try to set the tone here concerning chapter 9 and kind of working through this here. I still have not yet decided how I'm going to do this, particularly with Daniel's prayer. So I think we'll probably do themes. We'll kind of work through some themes that are mentioned within the prayer itself. But let's go ahead and look at the pertinent questions from last chapter. What is the vision of the ram and the goat? I believe that the vision in the ram and the goat is concerning Israelite history that corresponds or parallels Gentile history pertaining to the end. We're looking at several different timelines, right? We're looking at the timeline of Daniel under the rule of these kings. We're looking at the parallel or the timeline of the future as it pertains to the Gentile nations. And now we're looking at a timeline that kind of parallels that concerning the Israelite nation as well. So that's a lot of timelines going on here. What is the little horn? Based upon the details of the text in chapter 8, the little horn is a description of the one to come who will display deception, cunning, and destruction, unlike anything the world has ever seen or experienced. Why are these things important for Daniel to know was our third one. And again, this information is written in the Hebrew language. This is very important because this concerns the Hebrew people. Whereas when it was written in Aramaic, it concerned the nations. In addition to, I believe, Israel too, because over time they adopted the Aramaic language. But I think in one sense specifically, this has to do again with the Israelite people. And it's important for Daniel to know specifically concerning his people and for them to understand concerning all the kingdoms that are coming, the one who is coming, that is the little horn, and the ultimate victory of the high king of the rulers and his rescuing or delivering essentially Jew and Gentile alike in the establishment of his kingdom that is to come. During chapter 8, this is as far as we've gotten. As a matter of fact, we've actually taken a kind of a time leap back to the first kingdom of Nebuchadnezzar, right? And just kind of looking at this just itself, during this time that in chapter 8, we see that the vision occurred during the time of Belshazzar, right? Which we have here. We've zoomed in on this timeline here, right? Daniel chapter 8 was given 3 years after his first one in chapter 7, after his first year of Belshazzar's rule. Okay. One final thing just to confuse y'all. As last week we took a look at, I took the liberty in trying to outline everything. Okay, I would suggest that you keep this, put it somewhere where you can find it. Maybe if you have a folder, put it somewhere here because we're going to add a whole bunch of stuff to all of this stuff. So it's going to look even more detailed when we get done with this. We are looking again at two separate aspects. We're looking at the past as it relates to Daniel, and then we're looking at the future concerning what Daniel saw, right? In chapters 2 and 7, right here over here on the right-hand side, upper right-hand side, this concerns Gentile history, and the focus is Babylon, right? The nation of Israel is in Babylon. Daniel is under Babylonian kings. He's under Babylonian rule. When a nation takes over, or a kingdom takes over, they make Babylon the focus. I mean, this is from chapters 2 to 7. Gentile history, particularly Babylon, is in play. It is in focus here. We see the division of these four kings here under the Grecian Empire. And we find that the king of the north and the king of the south here are going to play prominently, particularly in Daniel 10, okay, and 11. We talked about the fourth kingdom, which is Parthia, not Rome. I'm convinced that Parthia is the premier kingdom that's referenced in Daniel chapter 2, verse 40. We find the transgressors of the kingdoms here mentioned. This is after, this is kind of I want to explain this, but I'll let the cat out of the bag. You know what I mean? So we'll get to that. Then we have the distant kind of the future here that is not complete yet. All of this stuff here. So the four kings that will arise together, one king will arise from among them and will establish a kingdom that will be divided. There'll be lots of intrigue, lots of deception, lots of deceit, people, jockeying for positions of power. And of course, the people within this kingdom will not agree with what's going on. They will attempt to try to usurp him. They will attempt to try to fight him. They will attempt to try to, to take him out and things like that. So that's why it is divided. Of course, the transgressor is the one who rules over this kingdom. And then he has, of course, his rulers that do his bidding. And then at some point in history, the eternal kingdom will be established, because in the days of these kings, the high king of the rulers will come and basically dispense of this kingdom and these kings here. Okay. And now on to chapter 9. This is how I'm going to perhaps divide this particular chapter as we walk through it. So we have Daniel's recognition in Daniel chapter 9, verses 1 to 19, that Daniel's activity is recognizing a particular thing, right? We will discuss that in detail. Then we have Gabriel's return. We saw Gabriel in chapter 8, right, of Daniel. He will make a second appearance here to Daniel. And we'll talk about the importance of that. And then lastly, Gabriel's response, which is the rest of the chapter, right, where he answers Daniel's essentially recognition and what Daniel is petitioning, essentially. Okay, let's go ahead and jump in Daniel chapter 9, verse 1. Here we go. In the year of Darius, so the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of Median descent, who was made king over the kingdom of the Chaldeans. So we see that Daniel writes, or I believe dictates. We'll talk about that in a minute. I don't think that he's writing this. I think that he's dictating this. We'll talk about that in a minute. Someone else is writing this for him. In the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, you know that when we see names, you know what that means. we got to do a case study. Okay, we got to do it. Okay, we got these names here. So we see that Daniel, in the first year of Darius, Darius is underscored as the son of Ahasuerus. Okay, and of course we see that he is of Median descent, and he is made king over the kingdom of the Chaldeans. That's Babylon. Okay? So let's talk about Ahasuerus first. Ahasuerus is a name that we ought to be familiar with. This word occurs 31 times in the Hebrew scriptures. It occurs one time in Daniel, and that is here in chapter 9, verse 1. The word that it occurs frequently, Ahasuerus, is the book of Esther. We did of course, the study on the book of Esther. 29 times it occurs. And the name translated Ahasuerus is Persian or Iranian in origin. Okay, even though he's Mede. We mentioned in our Esther conference, or our Esther intensive, I think it was an intensive that we did, right? Wasn't it an intensive, I think? It was something like that. We mentioned that Ahasuerus it's actually a title, okay? It's actually a title. We'll talk about that in a minute. The title Ahasuerus was given to Xerxes, okay? Let me go ahead here. The Hebrew title can be translated as King of All Males or the Lion King. What a title, right? Tells you a lot about how he thought of himself. Again, this title is associated with Xerxes, King Xerxes, okay? So Ahasuerus is not necessarily his name. It's more of a title, a descriptor that essentially he is the king of all kings, essentially. Okay? Of course, that's what they always thought of themselves, right? You have Cyrus the Great, you have Alexander the Great, you have Nebuchadnezzar, essentially the right hand of Marduk, all of these people. It's kind of fun. Let's take a look at a brief history of Xerxes. We got to do a case study on Xerxes here for a minute. Xerxes was born in 519 BC. His mother, it's kind of interesting here, his mother's name was Atassa. Atassa was the daughter of Cyrus the Great. This is his mom. And his father was Darius the Great. Not this Darius, okay? Not the Darius in Daniel 1, okay? Darius the Great's rule was from 522 to 486 BC, okay? So Xerxes was born in 519. Xerxes was not the eldest son. He was not. But he was the firstborn son of Atassa, because Atassa had royal lineage with Cyrus, okay? And he was chosen as the successor to Darius when Darius died. Okay? Now Xerxes, of course, when you're a king, you have lots of wives. You know what I'm saying? Some of them, again, royalty like Atassa, but there were others that were just regular people. One such relative that Xerxes has was a half-brother by the name of Artabazanes. Artabazanes tried to claim the throne of Xerxes, but he was rejected, of course, because his mother was not Atassa, right? His mother was not related to Cyrus the Great. She was just a common woman, right? She didn't have any royal lineage or anything else like that. So because of that, he was disqualified. By the way, Xerxes never really had to prove himself or demonstrate himself as a king at all. Okay, he was kind of just put in there, right, into that position. Now, as a result of this, he was a flagrant spender. I mean, a flagrant spender. I mean, he bankrupted the treasury of essentially the kingdom. We'll talk about that in a minute. He married, of course, another woman by the name of Amistris. And from her, he had 5 children. His first child was Darius. And of course, he had Histopes, which again sounds like a venereal disease, Artaxerxes I, Achaemenes, and daughters Amytis. And I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that, so we'll call her Rhodo for short. Okay. There were many things, again, that occurred during the time of his rule. He expanded the kingdom. Kind of following in his footsteps of his father. His father wanted to expand the kingdom, and so Xerxes attempted to try to do that. At the same time that Xerxes was doing this, as a matter of fact, Xerxes was he wasn't really a liked king, really. Okay, he wasn't really liked. When we went to go to Sight and Sound, and they made Xerxes kind of like this personable guy. You know what I'm saying? Kind of had this kind of a soft disposition and stuff like that. No, that wasn't him. No. He was kind of a bum. Okay. At the same time, there were many other revolts that needed to be addressed. They were going on all over the place, because he would just go into a region and just say, a region that had independent rule. And he'd just go, you know what? You guys don't have any independent rule. I'm your guy. Okay. I'm your king. You can't say anything about it. So there it is. Right. The 2 of the biggest ones were Egypt and Babylon. Man, Babylon just keeps showing up. Must be a coincidence. A parallel. He sought to address both of these rebellious outbreaks in this region. Okay, so Babylon itself rose up a couple times against Xerxes, right? He would come and try to assert his authority. They didn't like that, so they would rebel against that. So what did Xerxes do? Well, Cyrus the Great, as you well know, as we mentioned a while back, was a close friend and ally to Babylon. He brought Marduk back in. He was part of the procession every year, the festival every year of Babylon, when they would bring out all of the false deities and everything else like that and parade them around, the Euphrates River and stuff like that. He was a part of that. Okay. So he was a very close friend, Cyrus the Great, but not so with Xerxes. No. Xerxes, after a couple of revolts, had invaded Babylon and took the gold statue of Marduk. Remember chapter 3 with the gold statue that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were supposed to bow to? Yeah, he took that and melted it down. Yeah, he destroyed it. Like, yeah, if you guys are going to disrespect me, I'll just come and just destroy your, I'll just destroy your idol. It's nothing to me, right? The ruler of Babylon, along with the priest, that is, they would clutch the hands of Marduk to petition for his blessing. So basically what he did when he melted that down is, you petition Marduk by this gold statue, you priests aren't going to have that gold statue anymore to appeal to. So no prosperity or blessing is going to come from, you're only going to get it from me. You're not going to get it from any person or any being or anything else like that. I'm Marduk to you, bump Marduk, right? Again, Cyrus the Great and even Darius, his father, would officiate the New Year's festival with Marduk. That is that gold statue. Again, however, Xerxes, he couldn't care less. He just came in, just ran roughshod over the whole thing. Now, history says that Xerxes destroyed Babylon. I don't think he did, based upon the text here. Okay. He didn't destroy it. Okay. He did, however, subjugate them. Xerxes ignored the allied relationships of Cyrus. He was just an enemy to everybody. He just didn't care. Okay. And he referred to himself as the king of the Persians and Medes. That's how he referred to himself as. They didn't see him like that. Again, Babylon rose against Xerxes twice before again they were subjugated and he came in and melted that statue. Xerxes also had a problem with Greece. He really wanted Greece. Now Sight and Sound did get this right. But one thing that Sight and Sound didn't mention is that Xerxes went against Greece a couple times, okay, and got crushed every time. Okay. So Xerxes' official title was Shanashah, meaning King of Kings. That was his official title, Shanashah. Okay. So he had Ahasuerus, he had Shanashah, and he also had Kasharasah. Think about that. This particular name here, could be translated as hero among kings or ruler among kings. This word essentially means the same thing. Okay? So he thought very highly of himself, of course. So in the first year of Darius is the son of Ahasuerus, the Lion King. This Ahasuerus is Xerxes. So Daniel still lived during the time, at least the first year of the son of Darius's reign. This puts Daniel at least about 100. He is an old person at this time. Okay, and he lived in Babylon after they were released, because Cyrus was the one that released them. So he's still in Babylon. He lived in Babylon all of his days until he died there. Okay. I believe that Daniel 9 is the last vision that Daniel saw before his death. Okay. It's not Daniel 12. It's Daniel 9. Okay. He's getting ready to pass away. He's dying. And I don't even think, like I said, I don't think he wrote this. I think he's dictating this to someone else to write this for him. I think he's on his way out. I think he died shortly after this. Okay. Xerxes I is now the ruler of the Persian Empire. He rules for 21 years. He destroyed Babylon in 485 BC and has subjugated it in 482 BC. I think that Darius was ruling around this time here, Babylon. So let's look at in the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus. Ahasuerus was already the ruler at this time, but in the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus of Median descent, who was made king over the kingdom of the Chaldeans. This term in the year is the Hebrew phrase sana. We've seen this all throughout the book of Daniel. It has been used multiple times to mark dates and things that took place. The way that we do dates is very different from the way that they do dates. This is a time marker. Okay. Shaneh is the Hebrew phrase here. This word occurs 875 times in the Hebrew scriptures, 14 times in the book of Daniel. This word literally is translated year. Okay. And it's just a measurement of time. So when it's used with a number that gives us an indicator, particularly when a king ruled at a particular time, that this event took place. It's in the first year. Okay. We see this in Daniel 1, by the way, in various places. In Daniel 1, it talks about in the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. We have the time marker here, Shaneh. We have the numerical number here, third year, and then we have the event that occurred as a result of it. that in the 3rd year of the reign of the king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar invaded essentially Israel, seized the Jehoiakim, and destroyed Jerusalem. In Daniel chapter 2, verse 1, we also see the term Shaneh used here. Now in the 2nd year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams, and his spirit was troubled, and his spirit left him. Again, we see Shaneh here. We see the number here, 2nd year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, the king. And of course, we have the situation that's happening here, Nebuchadnezzar having dreams, and this particular dream underscored in Daniel 2. In Daniel chapter 8, verse 1, we see the same thing. In the 3rd year of the reign of Belshazzar, the king, a vision appeared to me, Daniel, subsequent to the one which appeared to me previously. Again, we see the word here, Shaneh, the numerical figure. We have the king here, and then we have the vision that is described in Daniel 8, of course. We have Daniel chapter 10, verse 1. In the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a message was revealed to me who was named Belshazzar. And the message was true and the one of great conflict, but he understood the message and had an understanding of the vision. Again, Shaneh, numerical figure, king, and of course the situation of the vision that Daniel was given. Same pattern. And then lastly, we have Daniel 11, verse 1. In the 1st year of Darius the Mede, I arose to be an encouragement and protection for him. Again, we have the numerical Hebrew word. We have Shaneh. We have the king that he's under. And of course, this continues the vision that Daniel saw within this particular time period. So this is fun, right? We notice these patterns, right? And these are time markers that reference important events and things that happened within Daniel's life. As a matter of fact, we can kind of trace it with this slide. Again, we see the 3rd year of Jehoiakim over here, the 1st year of Nebuchadnezzar that is implied here in Daniel 1:1. Right over here on the other side. Then we have Daniel 2:1 here in the time of the 2nd year, Nebuchadnezzar. We have the 3rd year, Belshazzar under Nabonidus. This is the last king of the Babylonian Empire. Okay? And then we have Cyrus the Great here and his vision. And then we have Darius the Mede. The reason why I put him before him is because he's the ruler here already. So he's kind of the sub-ruler. He is the vice regent of Babylon. This is the major ruler here. And then we have the 1st year of Darius under Xerxes in Daniel 9:1 with the 1st year. I think you're right. Well, I think we need to come out with a book of timelines for Daniel, because there's a ton of them, man. Okay, let's continue here. In the 1st year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of Midian descent, was made king over the kingdom of Chaldeans. Again, Daniel more than likely dictating this to one of his attendees. I think they recognize that he has great influence. Right, he's been serving under the king's court this whole time. I think he's recognized within Babylon to be a great man, a man of upstanding integrity and character. And I believe he has attendees working for him. I believe he's dictating this, particularly now that he is older. Again, giving another one of the historical markers, noting the year, the ruler, his royal lineage, that is, he's the son of Ahasuerus, or of Xerxes, their cultural background, and the location of this rule. That is the kingdom of the Chaldeans or Babylon. He's gone through great pains to specify all of this. It's amazing. Let's go to Daniel chapter 9, verse 2. It says, in the first year of his reign, he repeats it again, I, Daniel, observed in the books of the number of years which was revealed as the word of the Lord to Jeremiah the prophet for the completion of the desolations of Jerusalem, namely 70 years. This is an amazing statement here, if we think about this. So he repeats that this is the first year of his reign, again, underscoring that this is an important historical marker. Okay. Then he uses I, Daniel. This is not just Daniel's opinion. You know what I'm saying? This isn't a figment of his imagination. He is getting ready to detail what he did, right? This comes strictly from him. So he, Daniel, observed the books of the number of years. Daniel gave some preliminary information concerning his activity. Daniel accounts that he was reading the scroll of the prophet Jeremiah and considered the destructions or desolations of Jerusalem. Now, this is kind of cool. As we've been going through bibliology in hour 2, affirming again the validity and the infallibility and the inspiration of the text, Daniel appeals to Jeremiah. He is reading the scroll of Jeremiah. He's reading this, or maybe having it dictated to him. And he mentions the completion of the destructions of Jerusalem, namely, and he specifies 70 years. This is in Jeremiah in a couple of places. In Jeremiah chapter 25, verses 8 to 12, Jeremiah writes the following. This is probably, Daniel read this. He says, therefore, thus says the Lord of hosts, because you have not obeyed my words, behold, I will send and take all of your families of the north, declares the Lord, and I will send to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, my servant, and will bring them against this land and against its inhabitants and against all the nations round about, and I will utterly destroy them and make them a horror and a hissing and an everlasting desolation. Moreover, I will take from them the voice of joy, the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, the sound of the millstones and the light of the lamp, and the whole land will be a desolation and a horror. And these nations will serve the king of Babylon 70 years. Then it will be when the 70 years are completed, I will punish the king of Babylon and that nation, declares the Lord, for their iniquity in the land of the Chaldeans, and I will make it an everlasting desolation. Amazing. We see the term 70 years twice. Same phrase in Daniel 9. Okay? We see again in Jeremiah 29, verses 10 and following. This is kind of interesting here because we love this verse. We love it on bumper stickers, and we love it on coffee mugs, and we love it on memes on Facebook. But notice what it says here. For thus says the Lord, when the 70 years have been completed for Babylon, I will visit you and fulfill my good word to you to bring you back to this place. For I know the plans I have for you. Thus says the Lord, plans for your welfare and not for your calamity, to give you a future and a hope. Then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you, and you will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. This is not a prescription for Christians. This underscores the captivity and how God will release them to go back to their land. I will be found by you, declares the Lord, and I will restore your fortunes and will gather you from all the nations and from all the places I have driven you, and I will bring you back to the place from where I sent you into exile. This is a promise made to the nation of Israel concerning their captivity, that he still cares for them, even though they have been punished severely due to their idol worship and practice. Oh, this makes me so mad when I see this out of context. I'm going to skip this one for the sake of time. Actually, before I do that, Daniel's prayer is influenced by Jeremiah's reading. Okay, he's paying special consideration to the promise. Daniel, knowing that the promise actually was completed, seeks to petition the God of Israel. I am convinced that Daniel knows his time is short. He knows his time is near. He's going to pass away. And I think that his prayer underscores again the details of the faithfulness of God to Israel. I think that's what's going on here. So after Daniel reads Jeremiah, we see this in chapter 9, verse 3. So I gave my attention to the Lord God to seek him by prayer and supplications with fasting, sackcloth, and ashes. This is kind of interesting. I've never seen anybody with sackcloth. I haven't seen it. And ashes? Now I know that whenever we had our fireplace, we had ashes in our fireplace, but I have not seen this, and I have not seen this activity. Let's take a look at a couple of words here. First of all, the word seek is the word bakwash. This word occurs 225 times in the Hebrew Scriptures, 4 times in the book of Daniel. And it can be translated more frequently as either seek or require, requiring something of someone else, right? This word is written in the PL stem, which again is an intensive. It intensifies this word here. So this underscores that after he reads Jeremiah, his intention to pray in this manner was intentional. This drove him to petition God in this way. This wasn't like an accident or something like that. He intentionally sought to do this activity. Now we know that he prayed often, as we read in Daniel 6, right, concerning his rule under Darius the Mede. But this focus is a little different, okay, because of the details that Daniel brings up within this particular text. Let's look at fasting, sackcloth, and ashes for a minute. This is interesting here. This particular statement with these particular details. This was an activity, fasting, sackcloth, and ashes, particularly for the nation of Israel, that concerned either mourning or lamenting, to emphasize, to highlight, to underscore their downcast state of being. Okay? This fasting, sackcloth, and ashes, it would appear, based upon the text in the Hebrew Scriptures, and even in sometimes the Greek Scriptures, that they would do this activity for several reasons. Okay? One was when the nation of Israel was in an existential peril from a threat, right? So they were going to be destroyed, they were going to be taken out, right? So what would they do? They would throw on sackcloth and ashes and lament. One such example was the book of Esther. In the book of Esther, chapter 4, verses 1 to 3, Mordecai does this, and the nation of Israel does this when the edict is put out by Haman to essentially exterminate the nation of Israel within the land near Susa and all the surrounding regions. It says, when Mordecai learned all that had been done, he tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and ashes, and went out into the midst of the city and wailed loudly and bitterly. He went as far as the king's gate, for no one was to enter the king's gate clothed in sackcloth. In each and every province where the command and the decree of the king came, there was great mourning among the Jews, with fasting, weeping, and wailing, and many lay on sackcloth and ashes. The association between Daniel and what he's doing and what Mordecai and those in the surrounding nations were doing was to lament. In this case, they were lamenting because, of course, their lives were threatened as a result of this edict. For Daniel, his sackcloth and ashes was lamenting about what he read and concerning Jeremiah and the details concerning that. Another reason was when an individual or a nation recognized that their ancestors broke the Mosaic covenant and experienced punishment as a result of this. We see this in Nehemiah chapter 1, verse 4. It says, now on the 24th day of this month, the sons of Israel assembled with fasting in sackcloth and with dirt upon them. Now the ashes is not used, but this is kind of the similar thing that they would do either with dirt, they would throw it up in the air, same thing with ashes. Okay? The descendants of Israel separated themselves from all the foreigners and stood and confessed their sins and iniquities of their fathers. They didn't do anything, but they acknowledged the sins of their fathers and what they did to get them to this place. While they stood in their place, they read from the book of the law of the Lord their God for the fourth of the day, and another fourth they confessed, or acknowledged, and worshiped the Lord their God. What were they acknowledging? They were acknowledging the same thing that Jeremiah is getting ready to acknowledge. This was a practice underscored in the nation of Israel concerning their infidelity to God under the Mosaic covenant. And as a result, they were punished severely. This was a stain on them in terms of their activity. Even though in Nehemiah, they are in Israel. They're rebuilding at this point. But yet they still acknowledge, yeah, that was a bad time. And we deserve what we got. Verse 3 again. So I gave my attention to the Lord to seek him by prayer and supplications with fasting, sackcloth, and ashes. Again, much like the account in Nehemiah, due to the reading of the book of Jeremiah concerning the restoration of Israel from their captivity in Babylon, Daniel sought it necessary to pray by means of this practice. He's praying. This is fasting, sackcloth, and ashes is prayer. Okay? This is the means of prayer. As this was customary of Israel seeking the Lord as a nation under the Mosaic law and understanding God's attributes. This is important because this is why Gabriel shows up in the first place. Okay? As we read forward. So to sum up, Daniel's activity of the reading of the book of Jeremiah influences him to mourn and lament concerning the history of the nation of Israel, what they did, okay? And their captivity from Babylon to pray and seek the Lord with the activity of fasting, sackcloth, and ashes under the period of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus. Right? That's very important, as it's a time marker reference for when this took place. Right? We will continue, just getting started. We will continue Daniel 9 as we look forward to looking at some of the themes of Daniel's prayer and what that means. Let's go ahead and pray, and we'll close out here. Lord, thank you so much. Even within these 3 statements of Daniel, there's so much history that we can extract out of this. It's just amazing how much detail there is here. From the practice and customs of prayer concerning Israel under the Mosaic Law, from how that fits within Gentile history concerning Xerxes and his son Darius, concerning Babylon and the region that continually begins to pop up everywhere within this particular account. Lord, we've woven this all together. Again, may we continue to marvel at the intricacy and the layering of this book, how it shows us not just what happened and occurred in the past concerning Daniel, but how it will, the things in the future, and how, again, you will tie everything together and make it right. We thank you so much, Lord, for the grace that you've given to us to be informed of this information. For it's in your Son's name. Amen.